Hi, I'm Carrie Hauser, President and CEO of Colorado Mountain College, and we know there are a lot of questions out there about the college, how we're operating concerning COVID-19 and our adjustments. So I'm joined today by Matt Gianneschi, who's our Chief Operating Officer and Chief of Staff, and we're going to just spend some time answering questions that have come into us, try to anticipate some of those questions that you've had, and invite you to send us more questions so that we can respond in a future conversation with all of you. So the questions that have come in, and I'll start just high level, and then I'll turn it to Matt for the more operational types of things to dive into some of the details. But the first question is, how has the college responded to this whirlwind of disruption that we've all experienced in the last couple of weeks? Much of this is on our website. I'll mention this at the end as well, but you can certainly tap into our website at coloradomtn.edu/COVID-19. We've tried to address many of the common questions, address what the college is doing, how we're operating currently in our environment, and this includes all of our campuses across our 9-county region in the Central Rockies, and certainly at our central administration offices as well. Generally, we are operating right now in a mostly remote environment. Our campuses have limited staff and faculty, mostly those that are essential to the operations, working on site. Most are working in a remote format. Our students, quote, returned to class on Monday following an extended spring break. Our faculty have gotten trained to deliver the balance of this spring semester in an online format. Many of them were already capable of doing that or already delivered either online or hybrid courses. Those who did not, we've gotten them trained very quickly to deliver those courses in an online platform. Our number one goal is to make sure that we get students through the spring semester. We have canceled non-credit courses and made other adjustments as well. And we have canceled all in-person commencement ceremonies, which is certainly disappointing for our students and families who we're going to celebrate our students. We are looking at ways to be really creative and continue to think about how to celebrate our students that are completing their degrees this spring. So please stay tuned in that regard. I would also say that we're monitoring all of our different counties and their recommendations and advice for either shelter in place, essential services. Colorado Mountain College and education is considered an essential service. So until we are advised otherwise, we will continue to provide service. Students that do not have other alternative housing situations, we have allowed to stay in our residence halls. And we do have students that are doing that currently. We've scaled down food service to more of a grab and go to make sure that students that are still living on our campus, accessing our resources, Wi-Fi, computers, and so forth to finish their courses, have those services available. All of our residence halls are single rooms, so students can socially distance and abide by the protocols that we've put in place. And certainly the college across the board is continuing to emphasize our own behavior, the things that the CDC and our state public health officials have advised, and that is to practice social distancing for those of us that are actually in the office or on site. Even Matt and I currently are situated at least 6 feet apart to abide by those protocols. We have additional cleaning protocols in place for our campuses, making sure that everyone is safe and sound. It is incredibly important that we all continue to do this so that we can come out of this sooner and back to what we hope would be normal activities. So I'll stop there, pitch a question over to Matt. It'll come back to me, and we'll certainly continue in this format. So Matt, a question that came in: are there refunds for credit classes?
Thanks, Carrie. So we aren't providing any refunds for credit classes that are continuing. The semester has approximately 4 weeks left, so students that, all the courses that could be transitioned into an online format have been transitioned, and education is continuing. So those courses are not being refunded. There are courses, of course, that do have an experiential component that cannot be moved easily into an online format. But what we're doing with those for the time being is postponing those courses in hopes that we will be able to deliver the remaining instruction in those courses at a later date, presumably within the next month or two. Should those courses not be able to continue, we will be looking at other ways to assist the students in either registering for a later class to finish the experiential components or offering alternatives for those students. In the residence hall, since you mentioned the residence halls, we are just today starting to see some of the numbers of the students in our campuses that do have residence halls are communicating with the students to identify which students choose to remain and which students are leaving. If a student chooses to leave the institution, they will be given a prorated refund based upon their departure date when they leave the college. However, we are seeing some numbers of students that will be remaining in the residence halls. So those students will continue to be provided services, including food service, throughout the remainder of the term. Carrie, you mentioned this a little bit, but I have a question for you that has been coming up. Student was supposed to graduate this spring. Mom, grandma, brothers, sisters, we're all planning to travel out to help celebrate the student. What is the college doing about commencement?
Well, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I'll talk a little bit more in detail and then let you know that we will report back as to more detailed plans for commencement. Unfortunately, given the guidelines for social distancing and minimal group activities across the state and certainly across the country, CMC is not alone. All of the institutions in the state of Colorado have canceled in-person commencement ceremonies. All are in a similar situation as we are. Attempting to be creative and think about ways to celebrate the incredible achievements of our students. And we certainly want to give families and loved ones and those that have supported our students a way to celebrate them. So stay tuned, check back. We will continue to update you as we go forward. We did have very exciting news that we had invited a series of really prominent women in the state of Colorado to serve as commencement speakers at every one of our campuses. And this was to dovetail and celebrate the 100th anniversary of women's suffrage in our country. Given the college's values around inclusivity and all the things that we stand for, we'd still like to try to celebrate in a way that both recognizes our students and takes advantage of what we had hoped would be a really, really special time. So we will do that. It may be a virtual format. We may have opportunities for delayed commencements and celebrations sometime in the fall. And we'll be as creative as the college is. We are innovative and we will make sure that our students feel like they've commenced and that they've graduated and they've celebrated in a way that is really appropriate. We also ask for your patience. This is not a usual time. As we know, the Olympics, yesterday it was announced that the Olympic Games will be postponed. So it's not just one form of celebration and gathering, it's many across our country. And we know that CMC will respond in really creative and innovative ways. And we look forward to getting back to you as soon as we can. So back to Matt. What's the plan for our summer and fall semesters?
I have no idea. No, so what we've done so far is we've done a few things. First is we have decided to postpone registration for both the summer and the fall terms until April 15th. The hope is that we will have more clarity about both what we can offer over the summer, the formats that we may be able to offer courses at that time, as well as being able to advise students heading into the fall semester. Registration for both terms typically opens at the same time, so we've pushed it back a few weeks. It typically would open at the end of March. We will open it April 15th. We have, as a leadership team, including the vice presidents of the functional areas and the campus vice presidents, have all decided that our decision date for the summer term will be April 8th. So if we are still in a restricted remote learning sort of requirement, make that an alliteration, the college, if online learning is the only option available to the college on April 8th, we will decide at that point in order to only offer online instruction in the summer term, which again will open on April 15th. We'll postpone the same decision for the fall term until July 15th. But on or after July 15th, if we are also at that point restricted to only online instruction, given what may or may not be in place regarding our response to the pandemic, at that point we will make a decision whether we will offer courses only in an online format or will resume courses in a face-to-face format or potentially in a hybridized format based upon the guidance that's available to us in July. So we have a few opportunities along the way. We've made some decisions, or we will have opportunities to make decisions and to adjust course as we're able at that point. I should note that that July 15th date is also the date that we intend to look at whether or not we will resume regular operations within our residence halls going into the 2021 academic year. So again, we'll wait until we have as late as possible, until we have more information. But on July 15th that will be the date on which we'll make a decision regarding the operations in the residence halls going into the fall term. So Carrie, with everything else going on, what can our faculty and staff do to get things back to normal?
That's a pretty big question. And I guess I would say I'm not sure that we'll ever get back to the normal that we once knew. I anticipate that we will be in a new normal. And all of this does not have to be bad news. The leadership team, Matt and I have been talking a lot about how Colorado Mountain College emerges from this even better than we are now. I spend at least once a week on calls with the other higher education CEOs in the state and recognize how lucky and fortunate CMC is. This is really challenging and it is really hard. And we are situated, we're funded, we are structured in a way that is uniquely positioned to come out of this even stronger and better. So what I certainly encourage our faculty, staff, all of our team members to do, even our students and our communities, is to think really creatively. We would also invite you and encourage you to let us know at CMC how we can help you. We'd like to invite any displaced worker, anyone that is from a small business that may be out of work currently, to consider CMC. We're contemplating ways to get you into courses, into financial aid resources, and into programs, should you now have the time and the availability to do that. There's also federal financial aid to leverage, which helps cover living expenses and other things if you are a college student. So whether or not you've been to college before, never been to college before, thought you might be stopped out, want to come back, for students who may have left our mountain communities to go off to college and find themselves home, we would invite you back to CMC to consider courses either a couple at a time, if you'd like to stay for a semester or a year or even longer, depending on how things pan out. So we very much want to be a resource. We want to be a safe place that you can come to. We will continue to develop plans and let you know how you can access these resources and consider your local college a place where you can land and where we can help you. So we hope that's part of the new normal moving forward. So I'll turn it back to Matt, and then maybe we'll dialogue a little bit here. And that is from a financial standpoint. Do you agree, disagree with me on that, Matt? How might the college be financially situated moving forward, and how do we come out of this even stronger than we are now?
Well, there are a lot of unknowns, of course. I would underscore what you said, though, and say that the college will come out of this. We will be okay eventually. The college is in a unique position, unlike almost any other institution in the state. We are not in the business of chasing enrollments the way that other colleges do. We're not dependent on the state the way that other institutions are. We are not the ones that are highly leveraged from a debt standpoint. So the college is in a really strong position. I would, however, also agree with you that it will be different. The college is going to be in a different environment. Moving forward, I think we're already starting to experience that. And I wrote a note to some of my folks that I work with today saying, the fact that within a week, more or less, we transitioned 1,500 employees and 17,000 students into a completely different paradigm successfully demonstrates, one, that we can be successful. Two, however, is that the institution is now shifting into a different type of education. We're demonstrating that it can be done. So I think that the success of the college is not entirely dependent on just the finances. I think it also has to do with our adaptability, our ability to innovate, our ability to accept the environment that we're in and adjust accordingly. Specifically regarding finances, the college, we are looking very closely at where things stand from a 2021, so looking at fiscal year, so going into this next fiscal year, we still feel pretty confident that the college is in a good position going into fiscal year 2021. We don't anticipate significant changes to the immediate near term. That's because our property tax revenue, which is approximately 70% of all the revenue that comes into the college, comes in the form of property taxes. Those are lagged, so we won't see any of the effect, the negative potential effect of what's happening right now for another year or two. That could be very significant in a year, so I don't want to downplay that it very much could be very significant to the college. However, we do have time to prepare. We are watching very closely. We are monitoring what the anticipated outcomes might be, but we'll be ready. The college, I feel totally confident that the college will be able to manage any of the financial challenges that lie ahead. What those are, we don't yet know, but we do know that we are in a very healthy position financially because of many of the decisions we've made up to this point. We do intend to continue with our current staffing structure as we have it, as long as we're able. We do have the ability to continue to finance the college in a way that doesn't require major adjustments in the immediate near term. But again, we will be monitoring very closely what happens both at the state and at the federal level. As we speak, as we're recording this, Congress is in the middle of deliberations regarding a stimulus package that may have impacts for higher education. Well, it's too soon to tell what those impacts will be to us directly at this point, but we will, we assume any of those potential positive outcomes that come to the state we'll be in a position to benefit from those as well. So again, we will be actively engaged in those conversations as we have an opportunity to do so. We'll be working with the governor's office and working with our legislative delegation in order to make sure that CMC has a seat at the table as those discussions or as those decisions are finalized. But I would say, back to you as we sort of wrap things up here, I personally am pretty hopeful. I think that CMC should embrace the idea that we've adapted before, we're adapting again. The environment is shifting dramatically. Unfortunately, a number of institutions are likely to fail over the coming months. And don't wish that on any institution, but I think the reality is that higher education will be under extreme stress for the foreseeable future. And this is going to likely exacerbate or at least accelerate some of what may have already been happening within others in our sector. But I remain extremely hopeful about CMC. I think this is an institution that, not just in sort of our own culture feeling better about being successful, I think genuinely this college will be a stronger institution once we're able to come out of this and as we can go through whatever recovery is before us. But I know you share that, so I guess I'd ask you, what keeps you hopeful? What keeps you thinking about the opportunities that lie ahead?
Well, I would iterate again, we are our communities, and to the extent that Colorado Mountain College can continue to be so baked into everything that our communities do, their recovery, and how we can help, will certainly be kind of the legacy of this very difficult period, and how people look back on CMC. Our communities have always supported the college. 55 years ago, we were created by a vote of 2-1. And since that time, our businesses, our residents have supported us time and time and time again. And we feel like we're now in a position to support our communities. Our strong and healthy communities, our local businesses, our nonprofits, our major employers, if they're strong, we're strong. And so our opportunity to give back to them in this time of need is a huge priority for us. So we are looking for ideas. We're putting together opportunities that we hope to announce soon. And we are incredibly hopeful. There are always silver linings, no matter the challenge and no matter the curveball that gets thrown at us. We have an opportunity to look beyond that. And as incredibly impactful as this pandemic has been on our everyday lives and everything we do and every decision we make, we certainly hope that you will join us in finding hope in wherever we find ourselves in a couple of months. And hopefully it's sooner than later. And again, I would just end on, we will be back together as a community sooner if we all do our part. We all need to practice social distancing. We all need to practice all of the hygiene and the protocols and the behaviors that have been advised. It's not a joke. It is serious. And in our small mountain towns that have been acutely impacted by this virus, it's spreading quickly. And the sooner that we bend the curve and follow the guidelines, the sooner that we will be back to the incredibly beautiful, spectacular places that we love to be, and with each other. So we look forward to that time. We'll be back in touch with another of these interviews when it makes sense to do that. And we wish everyone well, stay healthy,